Does she deserve cheers for her tears? On Saturday, MSNBC host Melissa Harris Perry apologized for a segment last week in which guests mocked a Mitt Romney family photo that included the governor's adopted black grandchild. And she extended the apology even further, getting a little choked up in the process.
My intention was not malicious, but I broke the ground rule that families are off limits, and for that I am sorry. Also, allow me to apologize to other families formed through transracial adoption, because I am deeply sorry that we suggested that interracial families are in any way funny or deserving of ridicule.
I just want to hug her. Harris Perry's eye water wasn't enough for Governor Romney, who told Fox News' Chris Wallace that he thought her words were insincere and that he didn't forgive her.
I think it's a heartfelt apology, and I think for that reason we hold no ill will whatsoever.
I pretty much interpreted it correctly. Meanwhile, this led to one former MSNBC host wondering if he too should have turned on the waterworks, with Alec Baldwin tweeting Saturday night, "If I cry, will I be forgiven of all my transgressions?" That would take forever. Speaking of transgressions, can we see a slow-mo of that bull?
El momento, ella se devuelve y vean, es impresionante. Ay, aquí, bueno, lo que nos deja ver el momento también es que hay una elevación importante, pero me parece que ella...
Man, I love of course, she was perfectly fine. You know that bull was actually a volunteer usher.
Really?
And helping her to the seat, so that's why she is fine. Paul, you're constantly apologizing, or if you're not, you should be. What do you make of Melissa Harris Perry's apology? Was it sincere? I think she was very sincere.
I think it was sincere, but the bigger issue is that we've come a long way with race relations in this country, where African Americans can be as racist and as offensive as white people now. Mm-hmm. It's like she just skipped right over the middle person. She's like the Trader Joe's of racism. She goes right to the source.
Wow, that's an interesting metaphor. One I barely understand. Kirsten, Governor Romney, all class, handled it the right way, didn't he?
Yeah, I definitely think he did. Well, I was wondering even why this came up in conversation. You know, Mitt Romney is obviously not running for president anymore. He's not really, you know, newsworthy. So I was confused as to why she even brought it up. Like, why do you even have to go there?
Because you know, in the editorial meeting, there's a whole other conversation about this picture and how funny it was and stuff, and so it was probably a lot worse.
But why even assign that in the beginning? There's no good place to go with that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's implying that MSNBC has some sort of editorial policy where they want to get the news out, and I mean that's almost what you're saying. Is that how could they decide on this as a news story?
Yes, and then another show like us will do a story on that.
Right.
So that's why it is a news story. But Mike, since you're already talking and burning up valuable time on the show, does Alec Baldwin have a point? It's hard not to feel bad when a woman cries, and she kind of takes advantage of that, and that's almost like goes against her own feminist principles.
Yeah, the only heartfelt part about that apology was that she's worried about her job position and stability. So I mean, it's the idea that anybody on MSNBC is going to feel bad or sincerely apologetic about saying something awful about the Romneys in particular is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Baldwin's got an actual point. I like Alec Baldwin. I think they should have smacked him around a little bit and kept him on.
I think they should have given him. Yeah, I didn't see that as a very smart move on their part. I don't know, Andy. Anything you'd like to apologize for?
No, not a thing. I apologize for nothing, as long-term viewers know.
Yes.
Is it okay if I don't care about the apology if I didn't care about the outrage?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. She had some comedians on her show. They said some stuff that wasn't particularly funny, and it was a dumb segment. Whatever.
Yeah.
But if we're going to judge apologies, I think mostly that was a pretty good one. And I think Romney's response was good, and that should be the end of it. The only thing I disagree with is, and Paul kind of alluded to this, she claims at the beginning of her apology that they wanted to look at this photo as a way of celebrating what was going on.
Right.
No, you didn't bring that photo on with a bunch of comedians to celebrate it. She's completely disingenuous there. I do think her tears were probably real, and she's contrite, and I think that's
so.
the end of the
Really?
story.
But the bigger for me is, why is Alec Baldwin throwing himself into this? Like, it just
he can't resist it.
Alec Baldwin.
He just let it go. Like, she's a journalist, a professor, an author. He's an actor. He's a fine actor. But the comparison is like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like comparing apples to homophobic oranges. It doesn't make any sense at all.
How do you know an orange is homophobic?
Well, it's just the way it rolls toward you.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I don't. You know, here's the thing. Here's what I think we should have: an apology-free month.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? You know what it would feel like? It would feel like 1980. Like before there was this cloud of outrage that kind of like rested behind you. It was just waiting to pounce. For anything you'd say, it was just kind of just floating
Well, don't you
along.
think social media has made it harder not to apologize because you have millions of people jumping on you now?
Yes,
and it's
you're exactly right about that.
You're on TV, but you still got, dweebs like you with nothing to do at night, just a little.
Dweebs like me
there's
with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Jabbing at me.
But you know what? I think there's also this idea that, we've come to this point where you can be forgiven for just about anything short of a heinous crime if you just apologize and if there's some tears involved, then sure. Then our ability to forgive and move on is pretty incredible nowadays when you consider what people have been able to get away with lately, particularly in the public arena.
All right, we got to move on.